Hi, welcome to Migration Manager, synchronizing a migrated user. In this video, we'll cover three things: configuring a synchronization shop to mail enable a target user, discuss AD objects, how they're kept in sync using DSA, and demonstrate some troubleshooting with generated logs. In this video, we'll assume that you've been following the series. In the previous video, you migrated a user from the source Active Directory environment to your target environment. We're now going to show how to mail enable a user using the synchronization. There are two notable differences between migration sessions and synchronization. Migration sessions are designed to move user objects from the source Active Directory into the target Active Directory, but they do not handle any of the mail enabling for any objects. So this means that the synchronization covers this portion. You must include any user or group that you want mail enabled into your synchronization scope. This will handle all the mail enabling once initiated. The other most notable point about synchronization is it handles watching for changes on the source after the initial synchronization is complete. It builds a cache, and moving forward, it periodically sleeps and then comes awake, looks for changes on that source object, and translates it to the target environment. I'll simply move to the synchronization and right-click and go to Properties. From there, I can see that I have a filter, and this is the filter that's applied to the source domain controller for choosing objects. If I so choose, I can move into the Set Filter button, and here you can choose exactly what objects will be selected out of the source domain. Computers, contacts, groups, printers, shared folders, and user objects. You also have the ability to exclude from that very same list by selecting. You can see here if I wanted to exclude users, I could go in and exclude everything found within this user's organizational unit. In this case, I'm not going to do that, so I will deselect it and cancel out. Lastly, you also have the ability to create your own LDAP expressions and post them into here. Next, my target objects handling. Do not create objects on target, only merge them. Now, this setting has been defaulted to this because typically your users and objects have been migrated using migration sessions prior to setting up the synchronization. It is possible to use the synchronization to actually move objects from source to target, but you don't have as much control over where those go. In my case, I am going to scroll down, and I know that my user is found within the user's organizational unit, so I'm just going to turn that on. I'm not going to exclude everything else. It will merge anything already found on the target. In this case, we're only concerned with the single user. Set security settings. Some of these things are largely the same as seen in a migration session. But remember, the migration session still provides more control for various scenarios. Specifying target scope. This is here to create what's known as a two-way synchronization. So whatever you select here will be synchronized back to your source domain. This is a scenario not often used or desired, so you need not to put anything out or select anything here to put back to the source. A one-way synchronization is typically what you'll need. In that case, I can just move forward to my advanced options. Custom add-ins and synchronized object deletions are things you can speak with your professional services or account manager about during your configurational periods. Lastly, the specify exchange options. This is where we set up the ability for your accounts to become mail enabled. If the source account is mailbox enabled, use the following mailbox store to mailbox enable the target account. For the target, we will set the server that is located on the target. In my case, there's only one. I'll select that and move to the mailbox store from that particular server. Again, I only have one. Select OK, and the information is now populated to mail enable my user objects. The next very important step is to create connectors or templates that will help with mailbox redirection settings in controlling the mail flow from source to target. This helps with the coexistence period. So I'll just go ahead and create that. Remember, don't use actual email addresses for this. That's simply a name used to set up redirection settings for the mail flow. So the safest things to do is use a name that is not synonymous with a domain or email address in your environment currently. QMM.source, or in this case, .target and QMM.source. There we go. You also have the ability to merge your user objects with a corresponding context if they exist on the target already. Select OK, and our synchronization is configured. In order to start the synchronization, move to synchronization, start, and perform the full resync. Here we can see job status starting, initialization synchronization. Currently, the source domain is being enumerated by the DSA agent. The DSA agent is located here on the QMM console itself. Now, just to talk about DSA agents for a moment, you'll see here that there's an icon that can lead you into your DSA manager. DSAs can be placed on external servers if so desired. In my case, I have one agent, which consists of a series of 5 services installed on my console. This DSA agent is what does the speaking with the source domain controller and then to the target domain controller to move your objects. Various other settings are here, such as controlling your project credentials into the atom. If you just right click, username, password, confirm password. This is how you can reset credentials to your Atom project. You can also move in here and set your preferred domain name for domain controllers, both target and source settings. And lastly, a synchronization schedule. The DSA will stop and start based on this schedule. What it does when it starts up is looks for changes on the source environment in order to put them to the target. Now we can see here that the agent has moved into a sleeping state. It will now sleep for the 15 minutes as just observed on the schedule setting. When it reawakens, it will examine the source domain, looking for changes on your user objects to move to the target. A cache is now built. Once a synchronization job is complete, it's often a good idea to visually verify on the target that the mail attributes have actually appeared. So if I switch to my target computer, and I typically might want to use ADSI edit to view the attributes of a user, I simply log into my default naming context using ADSI edit, down to my appropriate organizational unit, find my user, right click, and go to properties. Once the attributes come up, I can simply scroll down and see such attributes such as my home MDB and my home MTA, as well as Legacy Exchange DN, are all set. This is a sign that my user has been mail enabled. Please note that the mailbox itself has not been created yet, and our agents from the QMM for Exchange portion must log on to finalize and initialize the mailbox on the target. Should any other device log on to the mailbox prior to us doing that, it will fail. The other way you can look for exactly what's happened is through the logs. And I can show you the location of the log now by moving back to the console minimizing my console for QMM. Going to run and browse into the installation directory of where you've installed QMM. We'll change to all files before we start doing that. My computer. In this case, I've installed QMM on the new volume E, and I'll drill down into the installation directory. Once I get there, I can see that there's a DSA folder, and underneath that, a configs folder, and underneath that is your DSA log file. From here, you can see exactly what's happening in detailed verbatim of the transaction between source and target. This essentially concludes synchronizing objects from source to target with QMM for Active Directory. Thanks for watching.